Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, his Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, section 70, and it deals with glory of detachment. And for deep understanding, we are dealing with very advanced study of the entire project of soul to attain liberation, from beginning to end. And there are 7 great steps. In all Indian rituals, there are 7 number. In all your calendar, there are 7 days of the week. And there are 7 chakras in your body. So all you have to take is 7 steps. We are going to details. Just let me enumerate those points. First, Shubhecha, aspiration. Second, Vicharana, mind deeply involved in inquiry or reflection. The first is aspiration, second is reflection. Third, Tanumanasa, attenuation of the mind. When impurities begin to move away, your mind has become lost its obesity. Fourth step is Sattvapatti. Sattva in you has become dominating feature, purity. Fifth step, Asam Sakti. Now you deal with everything that you used to deal with in the world. But now your hand has become oiled up. Asam Sakti. You can't create karmas. But you can do all types of things. Asam Sakti means detachment. The world is no longer real, so you are detached. The next step is 6th step, known as Padartha Bhavana. The entire world process is called with Padartha. It has substance, material substance. Your body, your senses, your intellect, your ego, your unconscious, all come under Padartha, Sanskrit word. And all that moves away. You must realize you are like your soul working with iPad. And all that you view yourself through your iPad means through your brain and nervous system. all that you understand about yourself or all that you experience is not real you. All that comes through your iPad is not real. It's not bad, but it's practical reality. The energy that expressed, creating all that you experience through your computer, that energy is untouched. The same energy that with one mouse button you bring out all the dirtiest things of the world. With another, all beautiful flowers. The energy behind your computer system is untouched with all that is coming out. That state of your understanding of your identity, your I am, is always on a shallow ground. I am of the waking is no longer the same identity when you dream. In waking state, your physical body is your I am. In dream, that physical body is lying down somewhere, sleeping. Your I am is totally different. And when you go to sleep, even that dream I am or physical I am is no longer there. And yet I am is there. But even that I am is a problematic state, because it is dependent upon your unconscious. Move away from all this to real, essential I am. That's called self-realization. Getting out of the trap of egoism, emerging as I am, that am I. That I am in you is never lost. No matter how you go through your life, no matter whatever may be your dream, you are there on the bed. The bed is never lost. But here the bed is pure consciousness. That is never lost. And that's your I am. Always, no matter how you feel. Whatever you feel, whatever you experience is through your iPad, through your nervous system, through your personality that has been backed up by karma. So with that, having found absolute repose in the Atman, the Self, that's called absolute repose. Having discovered the I am has nothing to do with all that your computer brings out, brain and nervous system. No matter how fascinating stories you have to bring out into the world, all voluminous works you can do through your brain. Just writing your biography. You yourself don't know how many things to write. But all of that moves away. The real I am has nothing to do with all that. So that state is absolutely detached from all the world that you experience through your mind, through time, space, causation, www, when, where, why. 3 W's are there. These three W's create all your world experience, fascinating experiences. But the real I am is completely untouched. And any movement towards real I am is a real wow. Those who delight in the bliss of detachment, Vasishtha says to Rama, O Rama, those who delight in the bliss of detachment, because of the magnanimity of their hearts, are unaffected by the defects and limitations of karmas performed in daily life. Subtle but profound point is presented to you. As detachment develops, first thing you have to understand what restricts your detachment from the world. Egoism. Greater egoism, greater is you are restricted from your essential nature. Your essential nature is Satchidananda. But led by egoism, you are individual personality, interpreting Satchidananda in a totally different way. Interpreting Sat means existence, I must exist all the time. Live long, forever. It's a big lie, but that's the only blessing you can give. Chit, you will be bright, you will know everything. Everyone wants to know, be very intelligent. Ananda, everyone wants to be happy. So, same Satchidananda that silences your mind and dissolves it, same fattens your mind through ignorance. Same thing, Sat you want to realize, but to staying with the body, that is not your goal. Chit, you want to know, be clever, intelligent, but mental intelligence is not your goal. Ananda, I want to be happy, but all worldly attainments, that's not your goal. Your goal is your revelation of yourself, which is all the three together. Existence, consciousness, and bliss absolute. But this experience occurs in and through your heart level. The deepest experience, seat for deepest experience is the heart. Call it allegorical, call it practical, whichever way. And your heart remains restricted. Heartward movement is always pleasing. And that's described as generosity, a melting heart, a gracious heart, a heart that has goodwill for all. Not in one step, but gradually. But in order to have that type of a heart, your egoism has to be effaced. Greater the egoism, greater you are away from your goal. Lesser the egoism, greater is your movement towards your goal. It's a mathematics. And why? Because led by egoism, you are constantly slapped. Raga gives you one slap on one cheek. Dvesha gives you a slap in the other cheek. Like and dislike. More, the world becomes a source of experiencing the thrill of like and the strength of dislike. So the more ego, more slapping. Less ego, lesser slaps. Now realize your heart that is receiving constant slap. Both ways. If you are happy, you are slapped one. Unhappy, you are slapped another. So heart is becoming a load of so many slaps. Can't sleep well. But when humility begins to develop in your personality, you do good things and were not simply it is normal for you. Sahaj, you don't want any praise or anything of that nature. So, best of activities will develop. You will be like a flower creating fragrance. Best of. And at the same time, you are receiving no slap. You are being petted. Living your life with a heart that is being slapped. Living your life with a heart that is softly being caressed. By whom? By Prakriti Devi, Durga Devi, Lakshmi Devi, Saraswati. This is a picture of Bhava Shuddhi. Your bhavana begins to get purified. What else can you want in life? That is where your goal is, where your heart. And attaining that goal is in your own hands. You have to understand. Unwittingly, you are allowing your heart to be beaten up by a strange spirit that doesn't have any reality. By a monkey on your neck. This profound point has to enter your heart. And it enters through your sadhana. As you practice integral yoga in life, you will find yourself being more expert in handling many things. And greater expertness, greater spontaneity in action, greater inspiration, and your heart remains more relaxed. The day you have done more creative activity, your heart relaxes more relaxed. So no longer it's being beaten up. So that is the subtle point that's being brought into this. And that is described in artistic way, allegorical way, as generous heart, udar hridaya, mahashaya. People are addressed as those who possess great heart. During conditions of great misery, such as loss of a dear son or relative, the loss of wealth, the loss of experience of insult or injury, these are the slappings, you see. when there is condition of great misery, you are receiving, your ego creates a situation that has slapped your heart. The experience of insult or injury. One who has attained that Asam Sakti state, a sage, may seem to be agitated in the eyes of those around him. But inwardly he is ever immersed in the bliss of detachment. In this setting of the world, in the eyes of people, you are always the body. You have a hard time to discover you are not the body. How can you expect people to discover you? That you are a soul, not body. So, you should not become upset by how people view you. Your movement is spontaneously being led to your goal. But people around you will continue to view you according to their mental state, according to their way of experiencing the world. They are experiencing your personality. To you, your personality is not real. It's a mirage type of appearance. Inwardly, he is ever immersed in the bliss of detachment. This fact reveals itself through the blooming face, even in the midst of surmounting adversity. That was a joking face, don't go away. How can that great soul, by whose blessings others become free of their mental grief, suffer from mental torments? Another point has to be understood. People come from long distances to have darshan of sages like Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, and many other sages who were in a state of suffering from cancer, very old, can't even walk a few steps. And yet, having their darshan, they felt so inspired. Having received their blessings, they spoke of countless miracles that society and the world has experienced. Now try to understand that though subjectively sage for his own personality seems as if he is ineffective. His hair turns grey, he can't help it. His teeth shake, he can't help it. Circumstances create troubles. And his practical world is like anybody else's world. But there is big difference. In spite of all the limitations that his personality has, there is something unique that emanates from this sage's personality. And that is not limited by time. It goes on helping and inspiring people forever. Because what emanates from him is the divine God. Sages are not different personalities. To the devotees, they will always say, it is Buddha whose grace is helping everybody. Another one say, no, it is Krishna. No, it is Rama. No, it is Mahatma Gandhi. But that again is your choice. Source is Brahman. And Brahman is not in multiple state forms. Brahman is one and the same. So all inspirations that a sage brings out or creates for the masses is proceeding from Brahman. And his own personality, his own soul is nothing but Brahman. So how can that great soul, by whose blessings others become free from their mental grief, suffer from mental torments, free of attachments, abiding in pure consciousness? A sage is ever untouched by the miseries of the world. And those who come in contact with him become free of misery. And that's why you turn to saints, to become free of misery. Tap swarga pavarag sukh dhariye tulaik ang. Tulay tahi sakal mili jo sukh Allah satsang. Put all the pleasures and powers, all your attainments of the world on one side of this weighing scale and put few moments of satsanga that has tapped you in such a way that you are being awakened to your essential nature. This awakening movement excels all the world can give to you. The world is very generous, gives you a lot. Only difficulty is, all the world gives to you is from the mirage. Nothing is real. And nothing can last. Though seemingly agitated, a sage is immutable like a mountain. Seemingly agitated, again, just reminding you that all his practical realities will be like anybody else's. If a mother is caring for a child and child is going to put his hand in fire, no matter how tender she has been, now she has to shout at the baby, push him away by force. And if there are babies interpreting the mother, writing a story about it, this mother is very cruel. She says one should not be angry. But she has not controlled her anger. So, people will have different views about sages. Because sages are also handling their responsibilities. And they have their view. He should not have helped that person. He doesn't know how crooked that person is. And people have their own ideas and views. And in those conditions, a sage faces the same challenge like anybody else has faced. Just to remind you, karma moves in three ways in every individual. Your prarabdha karma. Three ways things happen according to the way you want. Certain good karma brings about. It's called ichha prarabdha. Favorable things come by your karma. But don't become too satisfied. Parecha prarabdha. Now your karma you begin to do things not because it was your wish, but others around you, near and dear ones, etc., led you to go do things. And this may be positive or negative, whatever it is called, parecha prarabdha. And the third one, something you don't want. You don't want people to suffer from hurricanes. But hurricanes come in. And the ashram itself has to adjust and go through turmoil. Sage doesn't like it even for a moment. Saniccha prarabdha. So what applies to the sage applies to everyone. Everyone goes through three types of prarabdha. Swecha, things will happen as you have desired. Anicca, things that you don't want at all, but you are completely helpless. Parecha, you are being persuaded, led by others. The difference is, in a sage, he is exhausting his last group of karma. That group of karma that has given you this body, called prarabdha karma. And he faces all the three, and that's all. In the case of others, while you are facing your prarabdha, that operates in the three ways, you are creating more karmas for future prarabdha. So while one prarabdha is ending, another prarabdha is being in the formation. In the case of a sage, prarabdha ends, and that's it. And even while it is there, a deeper level, he is untouched. How can drifting clouds affect the placidity of the sky? That's the best simile. Sky-like. Realization of the self, I am Brahman, puts you to that type of freedom. Like a sky is ever free from all clouds or whatsoever it may have. Just as the lotus is untouched by water, in the same way, a sage is untouched by the limitations of the world. This comes from the Gita, 5th chapter. Brahmanyadhyaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah lipyate nasa papena padmapatram ivambhasa. Those people who perform their actions, having their mind focused on Brahman, implying with the revelation, I am Brahman. Sangam tyaktva. Such a person does not create attachment. He is not doing action led by, compelled by attachment. And similes, just like Padma Patram Ivambhasa, water drops stay on lotus leaf, very comfortable. But lotus leaf is never attached to that water drop. Completely detached. By the knowledge of the self, a sage enjoys the bliss of the self, even when he is not seated in meditation. For aspirants, you wait for the time when you can sit in meditation, or do your yoga nidra, or relax in a particular way. to have sattva, sense of joy. For a sage, it's a eternal reality. Even to say perennial is kind of a limited statement. His experience of inward bliss becomes spontaneous. He doesn't have to work for it because that is essential nature. Once attained, he is called Swasakta. The Sanskrit word is very little used. Swasakta or simply Asakta, Vishaya Asakta. Asakti is two types. You are attached to Vishaya, objects of the world. Even your near and dear ones, they all come under objects. Or you are attached to your own self. Attached to your own self becomes allegorical. All that it means that you move away from illusory concept of yourself to what you are. Reflected sun is the illusory state of the sun. So if the reflected sun were to get attached to the real sun, try to figure out is an allegorical statement. It is simply rediscovering its essential nature in different degrees. So whenever we say, be attached to your own self and go on advancing, the word is called anurakti. Instead of Vishaya Rati, attachment to the world, be Atma Anurakti. Be attached to your own self, but not just one step attachment, increasing attachment. River turns to the ocean and that as if river is attached to the ocean. But the river goes on coming closer to the ocean and becomes nothing but the ocean. That's a spiritual concept of attachment. That's Bandhya Asakti. That's adorable attachment. That attachment fulfills your heart, throws away all the junk from your heart, and brings tripti, absolute contentment. As wisdom grows, one becomes increasingly attached to the self, thereby bringing about increasing detachment from the objects of the world. It's an important point to understand. Increasing attachment to objects of the world means your inner feeling is constantly being beaten. You live for experiencing tender feeling. And that tender feeling is being beaten one way or the other. Your most beloved baby is being slapped right before your eyes, day by day. In both ways, even if there is joyous situation, we're slapped to another way. Because joyous situations are not giving you joy, taking you away from your real happiness. Raga and dvesha, attachment and hatred, they are keeping your heart burdened with material that will bring countless worries and anxieties. And as I have already said, what makes this being beaten, forceful, your egoism. More egoism, more slaps. Less egoism, only even the biggest slap will be just like soft touch of nature. It is this knowledge of the self that is the most potent remedy for the illness of attachment to the object of the world. When the mind is free of desires for the objects of the world, a sage enjoys a state of profound peace, even in his waking state. Profounder fulfillment in your heart is not disturbed by external things. I've always given simple illustration. If you are engaged in seeing your dear relative wedded or going through a prosperous situation, and you join in to celebrate the prosperity and success of a beloved one, you work very hard. But that hardness of work, how many things you do, you don't sit down telling everybody, look, how much this situation has brought it. My son has passed examination. He has received a big certificate. And I'm working, you have to work so hard, working good food. That's I'm just making You can't imagine that thing can be possible. In other words, you do all those things and you don't have in your mind all the data, how much you have worked. Rather, what more can you do? So see this difference. Ego-dominated heart is being constantly slapped. But when ego begins to move away, slappings reduce. Your heart begins to bring out a revelation of God who was always there, the reality within. As just like a cloud moves away and the sun or the moon begins to shine. And therefore, your experience will be as peaceful as if you have gone into deep sleep. Having attained this state, he is no longer dragged down by the ropes of pleasure and pain. Otherwise, you are being dragged. It is through egoism that the chitta receives lashes of sufferings. I already described the lashes of suffering. Kleshas are the boundless fountain source for lashes. Lashes come from kleshas. When the sense of ego is dissolved by Atmagyan, knowledge of the self, how can the chitta then be affected by anything in this world? Your chitta reduces itself to pure awareness. Brahman. Therefore, a sage enjoys immense peace at all times. The subtle, internal, intrinsic reality. Though a sage is beyond all karmas, but here you must understand, whenever we talk about sage and that type of experience, your movement is progressive. No one becomes a sage in 1 or 2 months. The moment you come to a state of attainment from where you cannot go backward, that's the definition of Jivan Mukti. But the Jivan Mukta now goes on evolving further. He attains Sattvapatti, then greater he attains Asam Sakti and goes on. The Sanskrit term is called Krama Mukti. But people have some narrow view about Krama Mukti and Sadhya Mukti. They apply to everyone. No one becomes liberated at once, whether in life or life after. Process is progressive movement. If you are highly advanced, the progressive movement will come to an end within your lifetime. Not so advanced, or there are some limitation, the progressive movement will go on from this life to next life. Or if you are more advanced, your progressive movement will move on without your taking any other embodiment, through your subtle process. Though a sage is beyond all karmas, yet he continues to perform actions for the well-being of others. Now, a sage is addicted to seva. Being good to others has led an aspirant to come to a very high advanced stage. And it is that sharing knowledge, inspiring others, relieving the pain and misery of others, guiding others, all that becomes a part of addiction for the sage. So, as if he is helpless, he goes on performing actions for the well-being of others. While doing so, he is inwardly detached from karmas and their fruits. Just as a child moves his limbs sportively while in the cradle. How cute. In the same manner, although a sage externally engages his body and senses in actions, inwardly he is ever established in the childlike purity of the self. It's called Shishuvat, childlike. And that is profound point to understand. That's why Lord Shiva is called Bambhola. Child is called Bhola. Cute. And God is, he's the biggest child. He's Bambhola. Just like the movements within the child are so spontaneous. That's why you call it cute. Similarly, all great attainments, compassion, forgiveness, patience, endurance, goodwill, all the great qualities that require a lot of effort in the part of people, they come to him like baby putting his fingers this way and that way. And with this we conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanan मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात्। Om sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchid dukha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.